It's time for Southern Fried Baseball, presented by College Baseball Central. Hosted by Jake McKeever as he talks everything SEC baseball and more.
Welcome in, College Baseball Central fans, back again with another great week in the SEC. Week 2 is behind us. Week 3 is upon us. We learned a little bit more about some of these SEC teams. There's still a few question marks from some of these SEC teams. Andrew, you got to see some SEC ball in person. How are we doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah, can't complain. Another weekend is upon us. I think the most shocking thing is that there's no undefeated SEC teams 2 weeks in. There are still 3 teams in the SEC chasing their first one. We'll start with the games that we saw on Thursday. Alabama took on Tennessee. They got a great start from Zane Adams on Friday. They beat them on Friday for Bama. Tennessee bounces back in 2 straight days and really dominates the series, flexes the muscles there, winning 9-2 on Saturday. Rob Vaughn gets tossed. Did Tennessee show a little bit of vulnerability? That was 2 straight losses for the Vols.
Yeah, I think we didn't see our best from Liam Doyle on Thursday. I went and rewatched his outing on Thursday. If you told me his stat line on Thursday that they lost that game and they won his outing on last Friday against UF, where the box scores were kind of the same, he didn't look great in either one of them. Against Florida, obviously they won. Against Bama, they lost. I wouldn't believe you. I think Liam Doyle but has kind of shown some vulnerability. The lineup, though, for Tennessee has been phenomenal. And then obviously Marcus Phillips and Tegan Coons, the freshman, gave them great starts on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I know that they'd been chasing that Sunday, quote-unquote, Sunday starter. I know that they played on Saturday for a while. They've had a few guys kind of step up into that role. I'll be honest, I thought that was where a lot of the vulnerability in Tennessee was in that game 3. And they really kind of flexed it. I know on Friday they scored runs early, they scored runs late. Hunter Ainsley just seemed to have clutch hit after clutch hit after clutch hit. I saw a lot of people kind of shitting on Dean Curley on Twitter, and then he goes out and hits a home run. They're like, oh yeah, we need to bump him down. He's really not hitting. Boom. They're deep, they're loaded, but I can be honest, I came away from the series extremely impressed with Alabama. I think that Alabama on Friday/Thursday with Zane Adams is going to be one of the toughest teams to beat in the country. I think he might be one of the best arms in the SEC.
Yeah, I think they have one of the best rotations altogether in the SEC. Obviously, you didn't get your best stuff from from
Riley Quick.
Yeah, Riley Quick and Bobby Alcock. I thought Vaughn was a little trigger happy taking Alcock out of the game on Saturday. Maybe it was because they did bring him back on short rest, but
he threw a lot of pitches on A&M.
Yeah, he did. So I thought he was a little trigger happy. I didn't think he was getting that hit around, but obviously you had to. That's a game you're trying to go all out. That was kind of like a super regional right there.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
That game 3.
And like teams in the past that have played Tennessee, the coach gets tossed, Rob Vaughn. It's really funny because at A&M, they warned him really early. They're like, yeah, if you want to stay in this game, you got to chill out.
Yeah.
And then this one, he gets tossed. I love it from Rob Vaughn. I think that kind of gives this Bama team a little bit of an edge. Mm-hmm. It seems like a lot of these good teams take on the personas of their coach, good or bad. And Alabama has that kind of chip on their shoulder. But again, it feels weird that they lost the series and Tennessee kind of dominated on Friday and Saturday. They got great outings from all 3 starting pitching. Yeah. That lineup, I think it is the best in the SEC, and I don't even really think it's particularly close, which is almost crazy to say about a team that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, the Georgia Bulldogs. But I think Tennessee's far and away number 1. They showed a little bit of vulnerability, but at the same time, you did learn a lot about that because you know Liam Doyle's not going to have outings like that every single weekend. And that really is the only way that Bama gets there, that Tennessee loses. It's like, hey, if our first-round guy doesn't go and absolutely act like a first-round guy, you can maybe beat us. Because even then, Bryce Fowler robbed a home run from Tennessee. Tennessee, I'm not going to say Bama stole the game because Bama's, I think, pretty good. But, it took every part of you to beat that Tennessee team.
Yeah, Bama, I don't want to say Bama played a perfect game on Thursday because I think Tennessee did kind of hand them the win. We did see Doyle walk the bases loaded to Justin LeBron, literally one of the worst people in the SEC to have walked the bases loaded.
Oh yeah, and he's on a heater right now too.
Yeah, so he took advantage of it, and then you mentioned it, Bryce Fowler robs a home run in right field, and it just kind of felt like the momentum was going towards Tennessee at that point, and then it just went all back to Bama. And even I think there was one call in like the 8th or 9th that it seemed like just everything was going Bama's way.
Yeah, I would say that too as well. Here's you a question, because we're 2 weeks in, obviously 2 of 10, we have 8 still left to go. Where do you rank this Bama offense? Because I have it in the top 5 in the SEC. I think it's a really dynamic offense.
I think it's top 7. I think it's top 7. I think there's not trying to figure it out offensively. I think there are just better lineups that will, especially when we go on today. I think we're going to talk about a lot of just really good lineups.
Yeah, really. This was a hitters week in the SEC.
Yes.
Bama sits at 4-2. Tennessee sits at 5-1 in the SEC. It's still Tennessee's conference, and all the other teams are still kind of playing in it. Going off to the team that played Tennessee in the national championship last year, the Texas A&M Aggies travel up to Vanderbilt and get absolutely boat raced in 3 games. They struck out 16 times in each game. They had the lead in 2 of the 3 games. On Thursday, they have an ultimate pitching advantage with probably the best pitcher in the SEC, Ryan Prager, going against an unproven freshman. And the Aggie bats just disappear as 12 straight Aggies were retired, 9 of them on strikeouts. I'm going to be honest with myself. I try not to overreact on this one, but I really struggle to see how A&M wins this series. It seems like they're in a lot of their games, but they just don't have a killer instinct about them this year.
Yeah, you've talked about it, of how they've just played with such like a weird chip on their shoulder. Bama's played with a chip on their shoulder, and they're playing it like very intense, very good style of baseball. A&M, they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. It feels like they're playing scared.
Yeah, they strike out a ton. Jace Lavalette hit a home run on Thursday. They scored 1 off an error.
But they also struck out 16 times.
Bear Harrison hit a home run on Friday, and that was their entire offense. Saturday, I know that they were in that game at 5-2, but Binderup getting thrown out with the tying run coming to the plate.
Yeah,
I think just really puts into perspective. Like, I'm not even going to fault him because I think it's an aggressive sin, and I think it's 9 times out of 10 make the throw on you.
Yeah,
I think that's just the season that A&M's having. They're in the arena. They show fight late into the 9th. It's always too little, too late. They haven't been run rolled. They haven't been uncompetitive. But in the back of your mind, you know A&M's going to blow it.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. It's really crazy and almost a little bit funny that you watch some of these teams around the country, how some of these dugouts behave. And A&M's like a library. Like, no one talks in that dugout. Like we've seen Texas where they clap. We've seen Kentucky where they do other stuff. Like, it's just not a fun time in that dugout. And I don't know how to explain it. And I get that Michael Early's a quiet guy.
Yeah.
But there's just no life at all.
I think one way you can compare it is to an actual major league dugout. How you have guys going off doing their business and trying to handle themselves as like they are actually a pro already. We look at this lineup, there's going to be at least 6 guys drafted in this lineup that's going to get drafted. They will play professional baseball. But it feels like they're already trying to like handle themselves as a pro right now, and they're forgetting that it's like, okay, we're in college, we're still kids, we're still trying to have fun with the game. Yes, we're not winning right now, but we're playing so uptight that like when one little thing happens, it's like the whole world ends. Yeah,
and I should say this. They're still fighting in that dugout. I don't think they've folded up shop yet. No. I mean, Jace Lavalette still is playing incredible. Like I said, Blake Binderup, even though he got thrown out, like they are still trying to take extra bases. They are still trying to be aggressive. Their approach, I think, just has to change. And I get that Michael Early's a let hitters hit guy and Jim Slosnagle is a make them come and attack you in the zones. It's a little bit different of a philosophy. It's tough. if you've had a philosophy to buy into it, every single coach in the entire country that I've talked to speaks very highly of Mike Lurley.
Yeah.
And every single coach in the country has said that they are going to click. They have, don't quote me on it, but it's a top 5 ERA in the SEC, if not number 2. They are so close, but at the same time, every single run that they give up feels like it's double or triple.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like it's a spiraling effect right now.
Yeah,
they do have the second lowest ERA behind Tennessee.
I think it's far and away spiraled out of control. But enough with the Debbie Downer. At the end of the day, Vanderbilt swept an SEC team. Yes. They did it with power. Brody Johnson looked pretty good. He's going to be in our freshman of the week tomorrow. They got protection from that pitching rotation that honestly was looking their wins a little bit after that Auburn series. And they went out and absolutely shoved. Every single bullpen guy that they brought in seemed like they absolutely shoved. It was a quick series. It was 3 quick games. JD Thompson, they didn't want to speed him up on that quick rest. He looked absolutely tremendous. Now I kind of wonder what they're going to do with that rotation a little bit. Because do you move the guy, I forget the kid's name that threw on Thursday, but do you move him into that Saturday role? Do you move him into that Sunday role? Like, Tim Corbin has a lot of different options that he can go with this Vanderbilt team. And again, it's kind of coming together a little bit.
Yeah, Connor Fennell, he started on Thursday. I think they'll end up moving into a Saturday spot, especially with the inconsistencies they have gotten on Saturdays in the first couple weeks to start the season. I just think this was a perfect Vanderbilt weekend.
Yeah, it was an old-fashioned Vanderbilt weekend. It really was. And again, you're kicking a dead horse while it's down. But at the end of the day, it's still hard to sweep in the SEC.
Still hard to sweep in the SEC. You're playing – I don't care what anyone says, but this team, and when it's all said and done, this team will find a way – A&M, they will find a way to be in a super regional and going to Omaha, fighting to go to Omaha, I think. I think they're going to turn it around. At some point, they have to. There's too much.
We've been saying this, though, for like a month. Like, legitimately, like a month. I think they're dead. Like, it seems like every single time somebody comes out, says something about how A&M stinks, it gets clipped, all the A&M fans freak out, and then they suck even worse. Like, are they going to get, like, they're going to get no hit this weekend on Friday from Nick McKay. Like, just like, it's like A&M fans are like, it can't get much worse. And then they're like, oh, we'll show you worse.
Yeah.
Like, they're 0-6 in the SEC. They're under 500 for the first time since Rob Childress's first year. The last time A&M was under 500 in conference play, they were in the Big 12. Tony Vitello was at Tennessee as a GA, and Max Scherzer was the ace of Missouri. And Oregon State won the title, which, I mean, that's really not that crazy because Oregon State's still pretty good. But
our house,
yeah. JD Thompson's still going to be good. They're going to be in a lot of games on Friday night with Vanderbilt. We'll talk about them more in a preview. Just to handle your business, Tim Corbin style game.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move on to the early. Actually, we'll get some of the quick ones out of the way. Ole Miss absolutely dominates Missouri in every asset of the game. Missouri was in it for a little bit, and then Ole Miss kind of turned it on. Friday, 9-6. Like I said, Missouri scored first. They were up 3-2 in the 6th. Then Ole Miss immediately turned it off. 17-10 on Friday or on Saturday, just an absolute shootout. And then yesterday, I can be honest, I didn't really follow it. 14-6. I know that they scored late. Wait, what? They had? Oh, yeah, I do remember that because you were telling me, like, what if Ole Miss? So the games really weren't that close late. They were a lot closer early. Ole Miss really got into that bullpen. They did what they did in Houston against Clemson just all weekend, where they dominate subpar pitching. They don't play down to their competition, which I think is really great. And I'm going to be honest, this is a game that I don't think Mike Bianco wins with a 23 team or a 24 team. It's an old team. It's a lot of transfers. It's a lot of guys that have been around the block a little bit. They do have some young blood. Like, I know that who's that freshman shortstop that they have?
Oh my God. Hayden Federico.
Hayden Federico.
It is Federico.
Yeah, Hayden Federico. I know that he brings new life and everything, but at the end of the day, a lot of their guys, it's Judd Odermark, it's Isaac Humphrey out and right, it's Luke Hill, it's that veteran pitching rotation. I mean, this Ole Miss team, I know that we talked about A&M having a professional approach in a shitty way. Ole Miss has it in the complete inverse. They just go out, handle their business, move on to the next one.
Yeah. They're finally like this is like starting to roll into a very good thing, especially with who they've got coming up.
They're 4-2. They beat Kentucky. They beat Arkansas on a Friday. They swept Missouri. Like, it's kind of coming together a little bit for Ole Miss. Like, I know it's way too early and a lot of stuff still has to play out, but there's a world where Ole Miss hosts a regional and it's not that outrageous.
Yeah. With some of the, I think I saw something today that I am kind of manifesting for like a Honolulu regional with Hawaii, but the way that Ole Miss's like schedule lines up, they have UF this week. They go to Lexington for Kentucky next week, but there's a lot of like their schedule lines up perfectly where the back end of their schedule, they end with Auburn going into SEC tournament. They play Tennessee, and that's really the only like they play Tennessee, they play Vanderbilt, but
here's the thing: is Tennessee's so good that if you're competitive or you steal one game, it doesn't really knock you that much. And I think ultimately too that Auburn one, that's kind of who I have in my head of that last hosting team in the SEC. So that really could kind of be that exclamation point for one of those teams. Yeah. It's going to be really interesting. It's one of the best lineups. I think that the thing that really impresses me the most is just the attitude at the plate. It's not high end like some of these other teams in the SEC. They just quietly go to work with. It's a lot of 2-out hitting. It's a lot of 2-strike hitting. Mm-hmm. They hit home runs. They hit doubles. Like, it's a balanced lineup, and everybody in that lineup knows their role and accepts it. And I think that there's a lot of teams in the SEC that are still kind of looking for roles in people. Ole Miss has a lot of their stuff figured out. Again, it was Missouri. Can't get too high on it, like we said with Vandy. Yeah. Do you have anything positive for Missouri?
No, their basketball team lost, so I can't talk about how you can be looking forward to basketball.
I do have a little bit of a positive because I texted them to Micah. Can we give a big round of applause? Missouri is not going to be 16th in my weekly power rankings this week. First time ever.
Who's 16?
That's a great segue into the Florida Gators, who got swept at home by the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia sits at number 3 in the country after that. They won 8-7 with 2 runs in the 9th. That was a pretty close game. Before we talk about the rest of that series, do you have any positives for Florida in that game? They got 3 in the first against, but everybody scores in the first against Georgia. They immediately give it up, and then they showed a little bit of fight. They were in that game. Obviously, the bullpen was really kind of feeling some of those injury losses. Georgia gets 2 in the top of the 9th and really takes it. It was a back-and-forth game. I thought it was going to be a good preview for the weekend. Anything positive you want to take away from that game from Florida before we kind of just dump on them?
Going to Georgia. I mean, you started to get a little from there's really – I mean, you got something from Colby Shelton and Bobby Boser finally. Luke Heyman, you're kind of just like stepping on nails right now, waiting for Caden Curran to come back. You're waiting for an update on Pierce Coppola, and then whatever's going on with Liam Peterson, the soreness in his elbow. I mean, Aiden King, I think his line shows something different than what I saw. I thought he was competitive, but I just think it attests to how good that Georgia lineup is. And I think
on Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday.
Because they went with Billy Barlow, which I don't think he'll be in the rotation this weekend.
They went Barlow on Saturday.
Yeah. And then they went Clemente on Sunday. I mean, they showed fight. Like I said, Brody Donay struck out with runners on. I know a lot of people kind of came and attacked Brody. Brody's still an insane talent.
Yeah.
Maybe chill a little bit on the Brody Donay hate. That's enough. No Brody Donay slander on my show.
I agree.
But I mean, it was just an incredible thing. Like I said, Rylan Zabrowski, the University of Miami transfer, the old man. He hits the go-ahead home run on Friday. I do want to pull up the numbers because I felt like he hit like 1,000 home runs.
I'm shocked that
He hit one on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then again, he didn't hit one Saturday. He hit a double, though. He had 2 doubles.
The big name that I think doesn't get a lot of talk about in this Georgia lineup is Christian Adams, though. The FAU transfer.
I really like him in that role, too. Yeah. Back in his home state.
Yeah.
They hit 11 extra base hits on Saturday when they clubbed him 17-2.
That's.
I do feel a little bit bad for the people that had to work that game because it was not a run roll because they scored 6. Because Florida scored 1 in the 7th, and then Georgia scored 6 in the top of the 9th, so it was not a run roll. I don't see any holes in this lineup. I really don't. Like Colby Branch would be a 2-hole at Florida, and Florida's a good hitting team. Like you just look up and down this lineup, like Rylan Zabrowski, Trey Phelps, Christian Adams, Henry Hunter, Slade Alford in the 2-hole. Robbie Burnett's probably one of the best players in the country. Yeah. Like I note that Devin Obie had 2 home runs on Saturday too. He hits 7th for him. Like it is just he would hit 3rd at Duke this year. Like it's just an unreal lineup. And they got a good start from Brian Curley.
He did.
Which can go a long, long way because that was kind of the only thing that we're like, oh, like they're not gonna score 17 runs every game. Their pitching's eventually gonna if they can get half the outing that they got from Brian Curley, this quickly turns into a dangerous team in the SEC. Fast.
I was wrong on Georgia. I thought this was going to be their week, and they got exposed. I'm like a broken record saying this at this point, but I'm officially bought in on this team, especially Friday night. Colton Smith walks first 2 guys he faces. Wes Johnson goes out, yells at him, and I've been on the other end of like some of those conversations with a head coach / pitching coach trying to like get those big moments out. And Wes Johnson, like, I salute you. You challenged Colton Smith and you got the best out of him. And I think Wes Johnson is I said it last year when he was hired that he is the right man for this job. And he is just proving everyone right again and again and again.
I said this when he was hired. Well, actually, I said this in Omaha before he was hired. I was like, why the hell isn't Georgia better than they are? Like, you look up and down Tennessee's roster, it's Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Alabama, Georgia, 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 Florida. Like, they are a sleeping giant. And I think Wes Johnson has awoken them. And I think they're about to go on like a 3 or 4 year run. Like, they're like, I don't even think this is a Wes Johnson team. Like, they're very power heavy. They're still working through some of that. Like, he's doing a tremendous job with that bullpen. Like, there's not a lot of meat on there. Like, you look at Brian Curley, and everything about him screams not SEC pitcher. Like, he feels like that midweek guy that comes out and absolutely shoves.
Yeah.
He does cornball shit. Like, but he dominates. Like, it's unexplainable how good he is. And then on Sunday, on Sunday, they absolutely dominate. Leighton Finley had a nice bounce back outing. He threw 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. I think that told me a lot more about Florida than it did about him. Clemente only lasts 2 innings. Zabrowski hits another home run. Robbie Burnett hit a home run. Slade Alford hit a home run. Noel McCarthy hit a home run. Christian Adams had 2. Every single player that started, other than Colby Branch, got a hit, and it didn't even matter that Colby Branch didn't get a hit. They are just an unreal lineup. Obviously, this tells you a lot about Florida's bullpen issues. They were really feeling it. For reference, as I pull up the stats here, Colby Branch is hitting over 300 and hits in the 9-hole. Stats-wise, let me double-check and see, because I think – who do you think their lowest average hitter is right now, and what's his average?
Probably Devin Obie.
Devin Obie, but if you remember, Devin Obie didn't have the fall. Devin Obie's been on a little bit of a heater going forward. He hasn't played in as many games. Like I said, he hit 2 home runs over the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think this Georgia team reminds me a lot about A&M last year, where it feels like no lead is safe with this bullpen, but no lead is too insurmountable for this lineup. Like they are our buddy Chris Phillips, he said that it was like a softball league team, like an adult league softball. They just feel like a travel ball team in like a complimentary way. Like,
they're kind of like Texas Banditos or like one of the top
Evo
like,
Shield Canes or something. Like they just boom, 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 just loaded up and down it. Georgia's weakness is still the pitching, but if they can get outings for Brian Curley and Leighton Finley, like even half those, like they're gonna win just about every single weekend. Obviously, this is their first time really kind of being on the map, as everybody's kind of doubted them. Which is so weird because they've been in the top 10 all year and everybody's kind of been like, why the fuck are they in the top 10? This will be their first week. Everybody's kind of giving them a little bit of credit. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they do it. We'll save Texas LSU for last. I think that was probably my favorite series of the weekend. We'll get another quick one out of the way. Arkansas absolutely demolishes South Carolina. Liam Peterson threw today, by the way. That's what I was just reading. I did want to pull up a stat from Arkansas that they tweeted because I think that this kind of exemplifies the weekend that the Arkansas Razorbacks had. So Arkansas had 35 hits to South Carolina's 35 runs to South Carolina's 9. 23 hits for South Carolina, 41 for Arkansas. 2 home runs for South Carolina, both coming on Sunday against Vital Cheese, both solos. 9 for the Hogs. South Carolina did get him on strikeouts as there was 23 strikeouts versus 18. Zach Root returned to form, 7 innings for him, 7 Ks with the complete game because it was a run roll. I thought South Carolina was going to be a little bit better. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what everything I thought of. I thought the weekend was going to go about like it went last weekend for them against OU, and Arkansas just flexed from the word go.
So, if you looked at Twitter at whatever that post about Dylan Eskew was posted about him not getting his start on Sunday, that is how South Carolina's seasons or SEC or after the Clemson series. That's how it's gone. It feels like they should be better. It feels like a lot of stuff should be going their way, and it's just not.
Yeah, they lose 11-4 on that game. They were up 2-0. They had 2 solo shots
To start off.
I will say this. I watched that game. I watched it live, then I went back and rewatched it. All 3 of those first home runs were so cheap because of the wind.
Yeah.
Like, there was such a cheap one. Vital Cheese looked really good. South Carolina was in that game until they weren't because they had a 7-run 8th inning where they just absolutely ran out of pitching. I think that's absolutely crazy, by the way, that a SEC team runs out of pitching at that degree. I will say this about South Carolina. They are probably the best hitting team in the SEC if you only include singles. I feel like they're the best at just hitting singles. Like they had 10 hits on Sunday. They had, where is it? They had 7 on Saturday. Like they just pepper the ball like just singles. Like I don't think they hit extra base hits. Like I'd have to pull the stats on that, but I feel like they are the worst doubles team in the SEC. Like they're great at getting on base, and Pulmonary loves bunting, but they don't strike out. But South Carolina's lucky A&M exists because they're quietly having a very disappointing season.
So
Pulmonary, Brian O'Connor, and who else? Oh, and Brian Holiday. All I need to send Michael Early like a Christmas card because no one's talking about how bad those 3 teams are actually doing compared to preseason expectations.
Yeah,
because A&M steals all the headlines about it.
Yeah. Just nothing right going wrong. It's just unbelievable.
I don't think they were competitive in any of those games either. And Sunday they really kind of put their best foot forward.
They did.
And ultimately the bullpen kind of blew it for them.
It was I keep on telling myself this every time I watch Arkansas's offense, and it's people were worried after the second weekend about this offense.
People were worried after the first day. Remember when they wouldn't have that scare from Washington State?
3-2 against Washington State in extras.
I'll say this. Aloy and Souza up the middle, they like everybody was really high on them offensively. They're quietly a really good defensive group. Like they turn a ton of double plays. And Aloy has an absolute cannon from shortstop. Souza has really, really great footwork. I think that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about this Arkansas team is they quietly are a really sound fundamental team up the middle. Obviously, they had a little bit of, I think it was Davelin in center booted a ball or something. Mm-hmm. So they still have some defensive issues, but I mean, they pitch really good. They hit the ball really good. I mean, this was just an absolute perfect weekend from Arkansas. And again, South Carolina, I know we weren't very high on them, but I still feel like they're disappointing.
Yeah, I think it's disappointing. One, because it's a pulmonary team, and two, because they did get some like key transfers from Clemson that have just been. I mean, I guess
he didn't travel, by the way. Nolan Naraki, I don't think traveled with the team.
Yeah, I think there's something else going on there.
I think it's his shoulder, right?
Yeah, he was on the injury report. I think he was out.
Yeah, I don't even think he traveled. That's just pure speculation if there's anything more than a shoulder, by the way. Just because I think he actually watches the show, by the way. But like I said, I think South Carolina is not dead. If they can figure out some of these pitching issues that they have, I think the lineup has a little bit more thump than people kind of give it credit for.
Yeah.
They're going to play teams that aren't very sound defensively, like OU and Arkansas. And I think that, like I said that I don't think A&M has the talent to win an entire series. I think South Carolina steals a series from two or three people.
Yeah. They go to Mississippi State, not this weekend, next weekend. And then they go to A&M back. Wow, this is actually. So their next three series, they have Tennessee at home. They go to Mississippi State, and then they go to A&M.
They're going to win two of those series.
I can see
they're going to win two of those.
They're going to take the Mississippi State series and the A&M series, I think.
I think they take the Tennessee series.
Ooh.
No, I don't. Actually, no, it's too early.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a good segue into Mississippi State.
Yeah.
We never like to speculate on jobs. These are not job boards. We don't have any in with the athletic director at Mississippi State, but it feels like Chris Lemonis is coaching for his job this weekend against South Carolina in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They get a great start on Friday from Pico Khan. They get one in the first, one in the seventh. They tried their hardest to blow it with 2 errors late. And then from there, it was all Oklahoma. On Saturday, they have that odd game where they come back from down 7-0 and then blow it late as they gave up 2 in the bottom of the 8th. Then Sunday, very boring, very Mississippi State-esque game. They're up 3-2 at one point. Ace Reese is really good. I think that we should applaud Chris Lemonis for getting Ace Reese out of the portal. That was a really, I would say, underrated get. He was pretty hyped up, I should say. He got a lot of portal activity. Mm-hmm. Pico Khan, credit for bringing him back a year, but this is still just a boring team.
Kind of, you're wasting Pico Khan, I think, because I think they'll get to a regional. I think they can win that first game in a regional with Pico Khan, but then it's 0-2 barbecue. It's still a boring team. I get to go watch the exciting game this week on Thursday with Pico Khan versus Cade Anderson.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah. And I think Mississippi State has a legitimate chance of stealing that game if Pico Khan throws the way he does.
Mississippi State's going to be right at that cut line with A&M. I'm trying to think in my head. A&M, Kentucky. Florida will figure it out. They're just having an injury thing. But that's going to be a tough conversation if Chris Lemonis misses the tournament for the third time in 4 years.
Yeah. Especially you win it all in 2021 and he's been under 500
I will say this. I think State fans need to chill a little bit about that because I don't think that it's as enticing of a job as it was when they went and got Andy Candicero or even when they got Chris Lemonis. They do not have the money that some of these schools have in terms of NIL. They have top flight facilities. They have top flight fans. It's a very quote unquote easy place to recruit if you get guys that don't care about money. But I mean, follow the money. Like
that's not the
Paul
world
Skeens,
anymore.
Did Paul Skeens take a visit to Mississippi State? Did Zach Root? Like they're not even in the competition for a lot of these high end recruits.
Yeah,
like they're getting in, and it's not Chris Lemonis because Chris Lemonis can recruit his ass off.
Mm-hmm.
I think that State fans need to kind of take a step back, chill a little bit. I think Lemonis is probably the best coach that they could get, realistically.
Yeah, I mean, I did bring up Nick Mingione last week as he was one of Lemonis's first assistants there, but yeah,
he was there pre-Lemonis,
or he was there with Canizario.
He was there with John Cohen.
Oh.
Yep, John Cohen's last year. What? Because actually, I thought about walking on at Mississippi State, and Nick Mingione handled the walk-ons back then. Fun fact. And then he left to go to Kentucky, and I did not get in close contact with the next one. But it's a really interesting – State's at a very crossroads because unlike A&M, they're going to get a little bit of a benefit of the doubt because they've taken care of business against some of these mid-majors and midweeks and stuff like that. So the record – they're 15-9. They beat Southern Miss. Like I said, A&M and them were – A&M just had a little bit – more tough a go of it in the midweeks, I would say.
Yeah.
But I mean, credit to OU. I have OU ridiculously high, and a bunch of people give me a whole bunch of shit for it. I'm going to stand by it. I have OU at 6 in the country, and 2, 3, 4th in the SEC. I stand by that.
I have Oklahoma at 12.
They have a Witherspoon sandwich that they can throw out with Malachi and Kaista on Friday and Sunday. I absolutely love the guy that threw on Saturday for him. If they can move Cam Johnson into the pen, get him a little bit of confidence, I think that's going to go a long way. It's a good, not great lineup. I like Kyle Branch. I like Scott Mudler. I like Easton Carmichael. I think Easton Carmichael is the best player in the SEC. No one talks about just because he plays up in Oklahoma and people still aren't accustomed to them being in the SEC. Like it's a good. They're fast too. They're a fast team. Like Dason Harris in the outfield's a speedster. And then at the bottom, I know that Jackson Willis, the LSU E guy, he had an absolute monster weekend for him. They've had him as low as 9th in the order. Like they have a ton of versatility with this lineup. Like it's a good lineup.
Yeah, I've had people tell me about how good Jackson Willits was going to be on this Oklahoma team. Granted, his father is an associate coach, so I don't think he was really going to go anywhere else. But I mean, it's crazy that Jackson Willits is hitting as low as 9 at times. It kind of reminds me.
No. Willis, not Wilts. Willis is the third baseman from LSU.
Oh, Dawson.
Yeah, sorry, Dawson. Yeah, I get him.
My bad.
Dawson. Yeah, sorry about that. Dawson Willits. Correction. He's hitting as low as 9th. He had a monster weekend. Wilts at shortstop is really good, but Dawson Willis is an incredible talent.
I've had people play at LSUE and tell me how incredible Dawson Willis is. He's from a powerhouse area in Louisiana, Ruston. He's been phenomenal for Oklahoma, and he's just, you mentioned it, people are still getting accustomed to this Oklahoma team. I don't think that's an excuse for like the writers to be ranking them like middle of the pack still. I do think they're a top 12 team in the country. And I think when people finally like realize, oh, we're Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC, they're finally going to like sit down, watch a game, especially when
it's click for them. I think when they go up there, well, I will say this, a lot of Mississippi State people said they weren't that impressed with them. I'm like, they took 2 of 3 from you. So
yeah, you can't be telling me they're not impressive when they beat you in a series. And
I do want to look this up if you'll give me a second. The last time Oklahoma lost a conference series.
The year.
What?
It's been a year. I saw something today. Sam sent something.
April of last year.
Yep. Almost.
But yeah, and it was Texas. So, but the last thing, but they went. God, I forgot how hot they got. They're a good team. They're a veteran team. They get more with less. They're starting to get a little bit of a student buy-in. They broke a weekend series record against Mississippi State. I think it's only going to go up from there once the weather gets a little bit better.
Yeah.
They're doing a giveaway for some tickets out there in the outfield. So if you are a student, I'll be sure to do a link for that. But I'm saving Oklahoma baseball, I'll say. That's been my goal. I think I talk about Oklahoma more than anybody in the country. They're a good quality team. We'll do one more. Auburn went and took 2 of 3 up at Kentucky. They won on Friday with a Nick McKay start. That really wasn't that impressive from Sam Dutton. They kind of got 2 in the 9th. Saturday was absolutely off the rails nuts. In extra innings, Kentucky gets thrown out at the plate trying to steal home. And then on Sunday, they had a bench player get ejected while they're trying to beat the rain. So it's pouring rain. It's windy. They have like a 20-minute ejection. Chatterton really wasn't that good. He only recorded 1 out for him. A lot of walks in that first inning. That was the entire game as they got 1 in the 7th. I could be honest. I watched these games on wheels on Friday and Saturday. I had to go back and rewind it both times because I thought Kentucky had won. And I was like, wait, what the fuck happened? I was like, why did they? I was like, because they really did dominate. Like, there's a world where they go 3-0, like in the weekend. And then instead they went 1-2 at home, and their backs are going to be against the wall this weekend at A&M. But, I mean, Auburn's like Kentucky last year, where you're like, they're
going to be scrappy, and then here they are just like
they don't win games, they lose games. Like, that's kind of what happened this weekend. Like, Kentucky didn't play their brand of baseball, I should say.
No. I mean, I agree with you. I watched these games and I was kind of scratching my head, like, how the hell didn't they win these games? They should be going into SEC play or going into A&M probably 5-1. They should be 5-1. They should have swept this weekend. They had every right to sweep this weekend.
They should have stolen one from Georgia too. I know they stole one, but they should have taken 2 of 3 from Georgia. Like, I think Sunday is what should have happened. But for Auburn, Ike Irish came back, so that was pretty impressive.
Shoulder fracture, yes.
They didn't get good outings from any of their starters, and they still took 2 of 3. I think that's kind of impressive in itself.
Yeah, I thought Cade was a little better. It's the best he's looked this year, I think.
But it was the worst Dutton had looked.
Yes.
And it was the worst Chatterton had looked. So it was kind of like a weird thing.
Yeah, that's like the freshman, like your freshman moment for Chatterton, you can say.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get those.
Yeah.
But Ike Irish returns to the lineup. Bub Terrell's been absolutely incredible for him too as well. Cooper McMurray, I think, is every time we talk about the show, we talk about Derek Fabian can't continue his pace. I think we just need to give it credit. Like, Derek Fabian's actually one of the best shortstops in the SEC. So this is now a Derek Fabian fan account.
Yes.
Like,
he's been nothing short of phenomenal.
He really, I know, and it's so weird because I kept waiting. And honestly, I like Derek Fabian. I think he's a good kid. But Eric Snow at the top of the order, I still get Cooper McMurray and Ike Irish confused a little bit. But I think Ike Irish is back, by the way, because he went 5 for 6
on Saturday.
He still has a little bit of an arm issue. He did throw something very gingerly back into the infield when I watched that game on Sunday. It was cold. It's probably not the best time to break in a back injury when it's freezing cold outside. So credit to Ike Irish. But I mean, Auburn's in that conversation to host, I should say.
Yes. Yeah, just the way they've been playing has been they've just keep looking better and better, especially with how SEC play is going to go for them. I think Sam Dutton will look better. I think Sunday, I'm not trying to hate on Chatterton here. I think Sunday Chatterton will keep on starting, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see as short as the leash as we did on Sunday, and we start seeing like Andreas Alvarez start following him, or
He
even
did
Andreas
walk
Alvarez.
the bases loaded.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it was a short leash as much as he earned it. So
I wouldn't be shocked to see Andreas Alvarez even get a start this Sunday.
I wouldn't mind that. Auburn, every part of you says Auburn should be 1-5, and yet they sit at 4-2.
Yeah.
Like they're winning the games that they're supposed to. They're stealing games that they're not supposed to win. Credit to Auburn. They're inside Texas A&M this year. Probably the series of the weekend for a lot of people. The LSU Tigers went to Austin to take on the Texas Longhorns. Saturday with Cade Anderson, they went out, dominated, flexed into that bullpen. Through halfway through Saturday, they were kind of dominating, and it was more of the same. Yeah. And then the series just flipped when Cade Bling came into that game. They win Saturday, they win Sunday, take 2 of 3. I can be honest with you. I came away from this weekend not impressed with LSU, and I had to watch the game. I watched 2 of them live, and then I went back and rewatched them Sunday night, and then I rewatched them Monday night just to make sure that I had the same thought. LSU had so many chances to blow this game open early. Again, this is not anti-Texas. We'll talk about how good Texas is in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But Friday, they really should have blown it up early. Saturday, they should have blown it up a little bit earlier than they did. Like, they had so many guys on that they left on base.
They got to Andre Duplantier when he came in. They hit him around. They hit Jared Spencer around. Me and my buddy, who's a big LSU fan, we both agreed on this. The minute we both saw Zach Cowan go out there after it was a 6-run lead. If Jay Johnson cannot trust his bullpen, that you have to throw one of your 2 top bullpen arms, Zach Cowan and Kason Evans are your 2 top bullpen arms as of right now. If you don't trust anyone outside of that in a 6-run lead, there might be a problem in that bullpen. I get it that there's been no Gavin Guidry so far, but I could have told you that Saturday was going to go to hell after Curiel hit his home run.
I'll add to that because Anthony Einson really tired late too. Like he was rolling, and then you could kind of see, and he kind of did leave him out there a little bit longer than he probably should have.
Yes,
I think that's another kind of telltale sign. But I get that Bear's going to hit home runs and Bear's going to muscle stuff out of there. I get that every once in a while you're going to have guys that run one out, but I feel like they're a little bit too reliant on the long ball for how little they hit the long ball. And obviously they put the ball in play. Obviously they made Texas make a lot of plays on them. I'm not taking anything away from the Texas team or with LSU's approach, but like they walked a lot. They left a lot of guys on base. It takes a lot. I didn't feel like they got very many doubles, and I'd have to go back and see the stats on that.
No, they. I'm pretty sure they only got like a handful. I know Bear got one on Friday and Saturday, but it was a lot of singles.
There's a lot of singles and a lot of home runs.
I know Luis Hernandez got a double. Stanfield got a double. I think those might have been the only couple, only like 5 or 6.
This is a team that really does pride itself on doubles. So, I mean, I'm sure the LSU fans are going to come and roast us for shitting on them. They should lead the SEC in doubles. Like, that's how this team's built. It's like you should look up and think that they have an excessive amount of doubles. And I really didn't kind of feel that way. Yeah. We'll flip the script over to Texas. Texas took the punches.
Yes, they did.
And they really hung in there in the arena. Obviously, Saturday they kind of punted, or Friday they kind of punted a little bit. Saturday, once they got into that bullpen, 2 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, 4 in the 5th. And then Sunday, Ruger Riojas and Dylan Volantis absolutely shut the door for them.
Phenomenal.
Best series in Texas since I'm going to go Super Regional 2016. Because the last 2 regionals and super regionals have kind of been duds for them because this was the biggest home series, I think, in probably 10 years. It was their first top 2 win in 8 years. LSU brought a ton of people. Texas brought a ton of people.
Yeah,
this was a program-changing win for the Texas Longhorns from and they were already recruiting at an elite level. They were already playing well above their weight class. This is a program defining win this weekend for the Texas Longhorn. And again, they haven't won the national championship. They haven't won anything. It's March 24th, but this is a program changing win for the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, I think they're number 3 in my rankings. I that's how bought in on I am on them. They
made Texas as a top 4 team. They kicked LSU out of the top 4, and LSU was for many people.
They're a top 3. It's Tennessee, Arkansas, and then Texas.
I would probably put Georgia above them.
Yeah,
but then it's debatable. That's the thing.
It can flip-flop.
I'll say this. I was at the Texas alumni game, and I said that they were 5th in the SEC, and all of their fans and coaches laughed at me. They thought that was just the most outrageous thing ever. And then I was like, I think Max Wiener's going to turn on the bullpen, and the lineup's got some thump.
He is a genius. It's crazy that I don't know his aspirations. I don't know if he wants to be a major league coach. I don't know if he wants to be a head coach somewhere, but he might be the smartest pitching mind in the game.
Can I say this as a compliment? I think Max Wiener's talents are being wasted in baseball, that he needs to be like a rocket scientist or something. Like, he is so unbelievably smart. Like, I'd vote for Max Wiener to be the president. Like, he is so unbelievably smart, and he's at the premier college baseball program, and I think that that's beneath him. Like he should be like a president of somewhere. Like, he is just an unreal person. It's like, and here's the part that's so crazy is he preaches advanced analytics and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it is like, just dominate the zone.
Yeah.
And have fun. Like, it is such a simplistic way. And I remember when I talked to him last year, and when I talked to Zach, I'm like, there's got to be more. There's got to be something that he just doesn't want to tell media people. And that it really is that simple. Dominate the damn zone.
Yeah. I mean, if you need to make like an over drastic change, then you go to the analytics. But like the way, or with the talent they have, Texas, their job should just be, and I think their pitching staff does a phenomenal job of it, just dominate the zone.
They weren't supposed to be a talented pitching staff, though. Like, that was kind of the knock on them.
But they've lived. Max Wiener's doing his magic. He's doing his rocket science on them.
Max Wiener, rocket science. That's gonna be our new quote.
Yes.
Max Wiener, a nuclear engineer.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, LSU looked clinical against Texas in game 1, and then Texas. I don't think they looked very clinical. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know that's kind of a hot take with them.
I agree.
I felt like they had a lot of. Granted, they ended up putting them away late, but I felt like that game should have been put away a little bit earlier. What do you all know about UTRGV? Best team in the Southland.
Yes.
Far and away. I really like it when they dominate. I can be honest. I did look how far it is from Houston to Edinburgh, Texas. A little bit too far, so I will not be going to an RGV game this year.
I'm looking forward to seeing them in a couple of weeks. They come to southeastern Louisiana in a couple of weeks, and I'll be making a trip over to Hammond.
Dylan Volantis might be the secret weapon that gets. I don't think he's the secret. I think he is like a premier weapon. He's insane. Like, he's on everybody's radar. When I talked to Max Wiener preseason, he had said that they were really trying to work Dylan Volantis into that Sunday role. They just didn't want him to burn out too quickly. They are very, very careful with his inning counts. He's going to be pitching a ton for them down the stretch.
Yeah,
he's going to be a big reason they go deep. Jared Spencer is going to eat innings for them. Mm-hmm. They have dynamic bullpen arms. I will say this. You know what my favorite thing about this Texas team is? One, how much fun they're having in the dugout.
Yes.
And then two, that Cole Chamberlain, who again was in the mix to be a DH, had a few things outside of his control. A few people really kind of relished in their opportunities when given it. He's kind of cast to the side a little bit. He sits in the dugout every single second of every single game in full catching gear, just ready to go, hoping that he can run out there, which I absolutely love. I think that that's one of the best things about this Texas team is that they're so selfless. Jim Schlossnagle teams are so selfless. Tulo has them with a ton of confidence. They have really great approaches. I don't see a hole in this Texas team. I really don't.
Yeah, I maybe starting pitching can be up and down because we have starting to
They're
see
not
Jared
fast,
Spencer.
so they don't feel
Yeah,
very well.
I
I
mean
mean, they're
pitching
still
Jared
working out
Spencer.
that deal with Casey Borba, Adrian Rodriguez, and I think Jacque Stewart, and they're kind of doing a 3-man with them.
Yeah,
They're all three so good. Like Borba last weekend was an absolute monster. Rodriguez is probably the best freshman in the country in my eyes, and then Jacque Stewart was second on the team in barrel percentage on the weekend. Like,
yeah. It's crazy how like you just talked about this Texas staff, and I said it to you yesterday. I texted this to you yesterday. I said it's crazy how Volantis has bought in, but really it's all the freshmen that have come into this Texas program. Adrian Rodriguez, Cole Chamberlain. Cole Chamberlain's hitting, I think, barely over 100, and he's sitting there like being a good teammate, being ready for his opportunity. Volantis. This team is like it's so crazy how Schlossnagle has come in and just had everyone bought in, especially the freshmen, real quick. Especially in
well,
the first
even
year.
the transfers, I would say that's the biggest one. Like,
Yeah.
I talked to a few coaches in the Southland who actually mentioned Rigo Riojas, and they're like, "Yeah, we tried to bring him in," and then we heard that Texas was looking at him, so we're like, "No, we're not." Hey, would you rather go to Southeast Louisiana or the University of Texas?
Yeah.
Being from Wimberley, Texas.
Yeah. It's this Texas seems.
I think the craziest thing is that Sloss took the team and turned them into the top 5, and the Aggies have completely cratered. 100% from a coaching change. It shows how good. Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's the people that Sloss surrounds himself with. Nolan Cain. Like, I will say this: Jim Slossnagle was not the easiest coach to play for, but the flip side of that is that the people that he has around them complement him really well. Nolan Cain, Max Wiener, Troy Tulowitzki, that everything that Jim Schlossnagle's not, they are, and everything they're not, Jim Schlossnagle is. Like it's Jim Schlossnagle recognizing that he has not problems, but he has, like, not everybody's perfect. And he's recognized that where he needs to pick up the slack, he has guys that can come in and do it. The only thing I would say this, I don't think Nolan Cain nor Max Wiener are going to be there very long. But the flip side of that is every single assistant that Jim Schlossnagle brings in is usually a hit. And if it's not, he gets them out of there immediately. He doesn't let them linger. I mean, Tony Vitello's a Jim Schlossnagle. There's numerous Southland coaches that were under Jim Schlossnagle. So even though Nolan Cain and Max Wiener are a big part of the success, you shouldn't have any worry that Schloss isn't going to bring in unreal assistants to replace them when they leave for better jobs.
They have the experience there in the coaching realm. I mean, he just took this A&M team to being one game away from winning the whole thing. Nolan Cain, he was at LSU. He has a ton of winning experience. Troy Tulowitzki was one of the greatest shortstops in this past 15 years. And then Max Wiener doing Max Wiener stuff.
Max Wiener's the best pitching coach
in the country.
I mean, the thing that I always come back to with Max Wiener is that it's the only time in MLB history that all 5 starters have been homegrown and under 25 when he was with the Mariners. Here's another question. Jake, basically, Tennessee is vulnerable, but actually what I wanted to clarify that. I said that I thought Tennessee was going to be vulnerable if you beat them early with Liam Doyle. I came away really impressed with how Zane Adams kind of threw. I came away really impressed with that Alabama lineup. Tennessee's still an absolute buzzsaw. I mean, Bama's like a tier 2 SEC team. I wouldn't be shocked if Bama, Texas. I have Texas tier 2 right now, just because I think it's still a little bit early.
They get a test this week.
I think, but I believe in Jim Schlossnagle a ton at Texas.
Yeah, same.
Well, Andrew, we kept it under an hour. That was our goal. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you Wednesday in that show. I think we're gonna go. You want to do it live?
Yeah, we can do it live.
We'll see you live on Wednesday then. Thanks everybody for coming out.